This video will change how you plan a luxury trip to Bali. Most people think you need to spend tens of thousands of dollars for a luxury Bali holiday, but you can plan one for under $2,500 and still enjoy plenty of family-friendly activities in the process. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how you can plan, book, and experience Bali without breaking the bank. Plus, along the way, I'll be dropping the same tips and tricks that have helped me save thousands of dollars. Let's get into it. The first step is crucial, and if you skip this, you're setting yourself up for stress, chaos, and missed opportunities that could cost you hundreds, even thousands of dollars. But you can avoid that by planning your budget effectively. A mistake I see most people make is to start their planning with accommodation. When you do that, you're running the risk of one aspect of planning dictating the entire luxury trip. Where you stay matters, but focusing only on that means missing out on unique experiences. A nice cover isn't the whole book, the story is what lasts. Skipping experiences costs you more than you think. Focusing on accommodations first can lead into a natural tendency to spend more than needed to just book a really nice hotel. But in doing so, you aren't leaving any money to spend on having the best experiences you can while in Bali. You don't go on holiday just to simply sit in a hotel and then go back home. To get the perfect balance between getting the best experiences while also having enough for accommodation and transport, you can use what I call the travel budget split. This rule is a budgeting framework that splits your luxury trip spending into four. 45% of your budget would go toward things and places you want to experience. 35% of your budget would go towards accommodation, where you're staying for the trip. 15% going toward transportation, and 5% going toward any emergencies or last-minute plans you make on your trip. Let's bring in two people, Andrew and Sarah. Both are on a $2,000 budget. Andrew spends around $1,750 of his budget on a 7-night stay at a luxurious resort. That leaves him with around $250 to spend, $140 of which he spends on transportation and the remaining $110 on the experience. For Andrew, his experience in Bali is basically sitting in his resort without anything left for cooking classes or entry to the best that Bali has to offer. Now let's compare that to Sarah's experience. Using the travel budget split, she allocates $900 of her budget toward experiences. She goes on a snorkeling day trip, attends a cooking class, goes on a full-day Ubud tour, just to name a few, which is already more than what Andrew was able to do. She then spends $700 on booking a boutique hotel in Ubud with a pool and 4 nights in a beautiful guest house in Canggu. A further $300 on transport throughout their time in Bali, and an extra $100 put toward a contingency plan. So you can see from the two examples that Sarah had the better experience overall because she was able to budget intelligently. This framework even works for families regardless of when you're traveling. Now, once you've figured out how you're going to spend your budget, the next step is one that I see a lot of people often overlook, and that's the best time to visit Bali. Bali has 3 main seasons: the dry season, the rainy season, and the shoulder season. The dry and rainy seasons are self-explanatory, while shoulder season serves as a transitional period before and after peak travel seasons. The dry season runs from April to October, the shoulder season runs from April, May, September, and October, and the rainy seasons last from November to March. The best time, in my opinion, to travel is during the shoulder season. I say this for a few reasons. The first being that prices for flights, hotels, and activities tend to be cheaper because there are fewer tourists traveling during this time, which means you can afford better hotels, longer stays, and more experiences without the need to increase your budget significantly. Touching on fewer tourists, having fewer people travel during the shoulder season lets you enjoy your experience to the fullest with shorter queues for things like landmarks, while also making you feel a bit more relaxed as well as the locals. They can tailor and personalize your experiences a bit more seamlessly with fewer crowds. The best part? You still get amazing weather, especially if you travel just before the peak season. Even with all of this in mind, you can travel affordably. However, there are some hidden tricks to save some extra money that not a lot of people know about. They end up losing hundreds because they didn't know about these tricks sooner. So here are some ways you can save an extra few $100s traveling in the shoulder season. The first being to book early. It's very cliche, but it is so important that you book early, as prices increase on a daily basis. The price that you see today won't be the same tomorrow, next week, or next month. The next tip applies to hotels, but I strongly recommend using both Google Hotels and TripAdvisor. I recommend both because you can get a more clear and broad picture of what people think of certain hotels. I tend to use Google Hotels to compare and find the best prices for hotels, and then use it in conjunction with TripAdvisor to surf through reviews to see if it's actually worth staying at. The final tip I have is related to booking flights, but it's to book by Airline Alliance. Here's what I mean. Go onto Google Flights and filter the airline by Alliance. You can also take this a step further by filtering by a single airline. One thing I will say is make sure that once you're directed to the airline website to book, make sure the price stated on Google is the same as the airline website. So now that we have set and decided how to spend our budget and picked a time to travel, the next step feels basic, but it's also one that leaves a lot of people confused, and that's booking flights, accommodations, and our experiences. What's leaving most people confused is not knowing the options you have, or simply having too many options that you cannot narrow it down. What airports should you land in? What hotels are worth staying in? And what experiences are actually worth your money? When you don't know the answers to these, booking feels overwhelming and stressful. It's like scrolling through Amazon with thousands of products and no filter. You know what you want, but the endless options make it stressful to choose the right one. To save you some of the stress, here are different flights and accommodation options from various corners of the world. From the UK and Europe, top airlines include Qatar Airways, Emirates, Singapore Airlines, KLM, and Turkish Airlines, with typical prices ranging from $550 to $1,050, depending on the airline and season. From the US, popular routes run from Los Angeles and San Francisco with average flight times of 23 to 24 hours. While from India, Indigo offers direct flights from Bengaluru, with prices from Mumbai starting around $270. For Africa and Asia, connecting flights through Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, or Dubai offer the best value and convenience. Moving on to accommodation recommendations, Viceroy Bali in Ubud was named Best Luxury Honeymoon Resort worldwide in 2024, and features private pool villas with valley views, perfect for couples and digital nomads seeking jungle serenity. Four Seasons Resort Bali at Seon received 5-star recognition in Forbes Travel Guide 2025 Star Awards and offers riverside luxury with traditional Balinese village design. For beachfront luxury, the Oberoi Beach Resort Bali was ranked first in Condé Nast Traveller UK's 2024 Reader's Choice Awards, offering direct beach access and cultural performances. All three properties deliver authentic luxury experiences while remaining accessible within a well-planned budget, especially when booked during shoulder season with direct booking discounts. For activities for families, I would recommend these three places: Waterbomb Park, which is Bali's most popular family attraction and Asia's top-rated water park for fun and variety; Bali Zoo, where families can see and interact with animals, feed deer or elephants, and enjoy bird shows; and Nusa Dua Beach, which in my opinion is one of the nicest looking beaches I have ever seen. Let's not forget about the digital nomads, as there are plenty of good places for you to work from in Bali. ATO6, which is one of the highest rated co-working spaces in Canggu with workspace, events, wellness options, and a great community vibe. I would also recommend BeWork and Live It Hub for its cafe-like vibe and quiet atmosphere respectively. Now that you've made your bookings, it's time to paint a picture of what your luxury Bali experience could look like. It's safe to say that both times I went, first with family and as a digital nomad, it was such an amazing experience. We got off the plane, made our way through the long immigration process, collected our bags, got into a taxi, and started the drive to the hotel. From that moment, the trip really began. The drive out of the airport was pretty much the same kind of chaos. Scooters everywhere, cars squeezing into impossible gaps, humidity still clinging to you from the flight. But after about 20 minutes, something shifts. The noise fades, palm trees appear, and you realize you're no longer in transit, you're there. The first time I went, when we arrived at the hotel, time seemed to have slowed down. Bags dropped, rooms sorted, and the focus shifted from plans to food and rest. That first evening was never about sightseeing, just decompressing with a swim, a simple meal, and an early night. Over the next few days, we settled into an easy routine. Slow mornings, breakfast together, then heading out late morning or early afternoon. Temples, markets, rice fields, or sometimes just driving with no real destination. If someone was tired, we went back. If the mood was good, we stayed out longer. There was no pressure to maximize anything. What stood out most was how comfortable it all felt. Bali didn't demand constant movement. Afternoons usually ended back at the hotel, swimming, resting, watching the light change. Evenings were relaxed, whether we ate out or stayed in. The second time I went back, it was just me. Laptop in my bag, work still part of my life. The arrival felt familiar, almost comforting. Same long immigration, same relief when you finally step outside and see your driver waiting. This time, the hotel became part of my routine. I worked early while it was quieter and cooler, often getting more done in a few hours than I would back home in a full day. On days I wanted structure, I'd head to a co-working space. Afternoons were lighter. Sometimes I explored a temple, a walk through local streets, a coffee somewhere new. Other days I did nothing at all. Bali made it feel okay to stop once the work was done. Looking back, both trips felt equally right in different ways. With family, Bali gave us shared time without stress. As a digital nomad, it gave me balance, structure without pressure. That's why Bali works. Not because it's perfect, but because it adapts to how you're living when you arrive. And if you want to see exactly how we book flights using points and mistaken fares that can cut your flight cost in half or eliminate them entirely, click on the next video, because we'll be breaking down the exact credit card strategy and flight booking tools that'd help you make the most of your next trip.